Hello, I'm Pastor Mark Renner. I'm here in my office in Janesville, Wisconsin. Janesville is in between Rockford and Madison. We're sort of a suburb of Madison, Wisconsin. Today I'd like to talk with you for a moment, and I want you to imagine with me. I want you to sort of pretend with me for a second. Imagine there is a piece of land about 187 acres on a beautiful waterfront. And this piece of land is about 40 minutes from one of the best airports in the world. And you can get direct flights to anywhere in the world, essentially, from that airport. Imagine that piece of land is next to one of the best public universities in the world. One of the largest public universities in the world. But then it's also next to another university that's also pretty excellent as well, sandwiched in between those two institutions. And then it's near a giant community college. Let's say this piece of land is in the best college metro in the United States, maybe in the world, where 80 to 90% of what takes place in this little metropolitan area is focused on college activities. It's the main force in people's lives. Most people either work for a university or attend a university in some capacity. Let's just imagine that for a second. And now let's imagine that that piece of land has a college or a university that's centered on Jesus Christ. Let's imagine that that piece of land is filled with staff and students that are imperfect, that don't always make perfect decisions, that live in a world that is complicated and messy and maybe is a little bit difficult to navigate sometimes, in a world that's changing rapidly. And let's say this place is focused on Jesus, imperfectly, sharing the good news of Jesus Christ with people, the whole counsel of God, forming young men, forming young women for discipleship in the name of Jesus. Let's say this university is on, I don't know, maybe from what I know, from what I understand, the most sought after land in the state of Michigan, a property that the University of Michigan has been trying to acquire for decades for their medical school. A property that Eastern Michigan has shown interest in the past. A property that Domino's has tried to purchase several times to have a new location for Domino's Farms. A property that St. Joseph Medical Center, St. Joseph Hospital, has tried to acquire, or at least portions of it before. This 187 acre property. And now imagine this property, it's one of the most sought after properties in the state of Michigan, that you could take a little portion of and partition off and sell for a king's ransom 5 times over and still have a massive amount of land. Imagine if someone said to you, well, we're thinking about getting rid of this property or getting rid of this university because we're $4 or $5 million short for the upcoming year. But in the past, as I understand, 8 to 10 years straight, money has been made at this university through enrollment, through new programs. Would that concern you? Would you maybe ask some questions while trying to put things in the best possible light? Concerns me. What I'm talking about is Concordia, Ann Arbor. Concordia University, Ann Arbor, Michigan. A place that imperfectly shapes young men, young women to share the gospel in their various vocations. A place that is diverse in ideas, diverse in philosophies, and is also ethnically diverse. It's ethnically diverse. And it's growing inside of a church body that is steadily declining. Lutheran Church Missouri Synod, we're not hemorrhaging people, but we're just sort of slowly, tepidly declining in attendance and in members. Not rapidly, but slowly. But here, inside of that context, we have a university, we have a school that is growing exponentially, that's affecting lives in very real and vivid ways. C.F.W. Walther, I believe C.F.W. Walther, the founder of the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod, I'm almost certain it's in the proper distinction between law and gospel. I'll have to double check that again. But he says, and I'm paraphrasing slightly, just a question about Jesus Christ is the first embers in the fire of faith. Just asking a question about who Jesus is the first embers in the fire of faith. Could there possibly be a student that attends Concordia Ann Arbor or any Christian institution that is highly focused on Jesus, however imperfect that might be, however messy that might be, that would not at least in their 4, 5, possibly even 6 years there, not ask a question about Jesus? If Concordia Ann Arbor closes because they're $4 or $5 million short in this upcoming year, if people stop hearing the good news of Jesus Christ in that particular place, a place that is international, a place that reaches far beyond just Michigan or the banks of the Huron River, a place that is connected to the world, that is connected to great universities, that's connected to a fantastic airport, that's connected to Ford, that's connected to Detroit, that's not far from Chicago and all of these wonderful places, I'm pretty sure there won't ever be a Christian university in that spot again. Now, God can do anything he wants. God can do anything he wants. And God doesn't need me, and God doesn't need you. Right? That's divine monergism. God doesn't need us. Instead, we need God. And the church has a responsibility to share Jesus Christ with people wherever they might be. And that's what the church is doing in Ann Arbor. Please prayerfully consider supporting Concordia Ann Arbor through the efforts of the Michigan District, financially trying to save this imperfect, but in many ways fantastic university and institution that shares Jesus Christ with people. Please put them in your prayers, put them on your heart, put them on your mind, put this university, put the students, the faculty, the people, lift them up to Jesus Christ. And maybe ask some thoughtful questions about what is taking place here. Can the church, the universal church, or more specifically, the Missouri Synod, our denomination, can we afford to lose Concordia Ann Arbor? Can we afford to lose that witness in a time, in a place where so many people need to hear the good news of Jesus Christ? I'll end with this. I'm a pastor. In some form or another, I've been in church work kind of my whole adult life. I did mission work when I was a teenager, went to Asia, basically served as a DCE, although I wasn't called as a DCE, but essentially did that work for several years in Ohio. I went to seminary, and now I'm a pastor. Okay. Through that time, I meet people all the time that are about my age, late 20s to mid 30s. They look like me, they talk like me, they are interested in the same sports teams, so on and so forth. And as I get to know these amazing people, these wonderful people, I start to realize things. Like, oh my goodness, you've never been to church before, except for maybe like a VBS thing that you did when you were 7 or 8 years old and your wonderful grandmother took you to that. Or they start to tell me, yeah, I went to this Catholic wedding one time and it was really long. But that is essentially the only time so many of my peers, so many of my good friends have ever even been to church or heard anything about Jesus. It's something like, I could be slightly off on this, but it's essentially like 1 in every 10 millennials in this country is in any type of house of worship throughout a given week. And with Gen Z, it's even lower. But here you have Concordia, Ann Arbor, in a beautiful metropolitan area, reaching out to people in the name of Jesus Christ. And that is very much a biblical model. Where did Paul go when he planted churches? Antioch, Ephesus, Rome, Athens, huge, major, cultured, metropolitan areas. Okay? Absolutely. Cities that would be large by today's standards. Cities that were filled with artists. Cities that were filled with musicians. Which, that kind of makes sense now that I think about it, because the early church was filled with artwork and filled with beautiful music. Because the church was connecting with people like that. In fact, the word paganus in Latin, pagan, what does it mean? It just means country person or rustic person from a small city or village. And don't get me wrong, I love rural areas. I'm from an area more rural than probably most of you would ever imagine or dream of. I'm from a county that had 30,000 people in it when I was born, about 35,000 people, pretty rural. But the point with all of that is, God has put Concordia, Ann Arbor in that place, no matter how imperfect it is, or has been, or ever will be, to share Jesus Christ with people from a variety of walks of life, perspectives, denominations, backgrounds, philosophies, religions, with Christ's mercy, His grace, and His love, and His compassion. Pray for Concordia, Ann Arbor. Please consider supporting Concordia, Ann Arbor in the name of Jesus Christ. Thank you guys for spending a little bit of time. God bless.